Hello everybody, it's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. In this video, we have Howie Mandel hosting Nick Viall on his podcast, confronting Nick about his beef with the reality TV stars that have created the Ukan Foundation, a foundation to help benefit reality stars with legal support and mental health resources following, their exploitation on TV shows. And Nick, he gets grilled pretty hard here. I'm going to play it for you. What's very interesting is Nick's worth a lot of money. Howie Mandel is worth a lot more than Nick. And for Howie Mandel, a relatively extremely wealthy and successful person in entertainment, to say, hey, shouldn't we be okay supporting people? This is what we do on our show. It kind of really just exposes that, there is kind of a flawed opinion here by Nick. And again, yesterday we agreed with Nick. Today we can disagree. I considered this to be the biggest story of 2023. Not anymore, now that I'm being dragged into the paternity lawsuit issues. But before that, this was the biggest story. This is probably the most content we made all year because it was such an obvious and glaring beef that Nick has with some of these Love is Blind people, and he's unwilling to budge on his point. Let's have a watch, and then I'm going to play a few clips from previous things of what he said and what others said, just to make sure we're all on the same page here.
To that end, I've been reading, you were coming on here, and I was just seeing what's up, and you started getting hit for talking on, which you brought up in the last little statement that you made, that you didn't think reality stars should be getting therapy. Right?
Oh.
I didn't say that.
No, what did you say?
It was about
I don't think
the foundation.
I don't think people should ask fans for donations for their therapy. Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, so should GoFundMe not exist? Should people not support each other when they get sick? Where do we? This is it's kind of like a very boomer argument. No offense, boomers. Oh boy, just lost another one. Don't worry, you can get mad in your beautifully restored 4,000 square foot home that no one can afford. I'm kidding. But it's that whole pull you up by your bootstraps type of argument, which isn't good because it's like we're all trying to help out, It's a good deed trying to be done. Now, it'd be nice if we had universal health care where everyone just got free or socialized, mental health therapy, but we don't live in that world right now.
Does the Ukan Foundation ask fans for...
Yeah.
funding? Is that what it is? Yeah. Maybe I just don't really understand what that
then I
is.
agree with you then. Yeah. I thought, so my misinterpretation was you were I'm misinterpreting. I'm saying I'm misinterpreting.
I mean, we live in a world where people don't read articles, they read headlines.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We like to not just read articles, we like to play them. So let's actually go to what Nick really said and how he shut down his producers when they said, hey, isn't this a good thing? You can even watch Nick's fiance here, I believe before she was pregnant, side with the producers.
The agents, and then those agents treat their assistant, and it becomes this cycle. And so I guess
that's a job, though. This isn't a job, even though some of these people want it to be thought of as a job.
I guess I'm just because other people had to endure things, why are we against just improving quality of life for everyone? Why does it need to?
So you have Natalie agreeing there with the producer. All right. So anyway, we're going to go back into the finishing what was actually said here, because it's not just about reading articles. It's about listening to what people are saying. And Nick's been pretty clear about his opinions on this matter. And I believe, when pressed, that he's just on the wrong side of history here.
I don't do my homework. And if you know anything about me, I do not do my homework, and I didn't know. So I've been misinformed.
I went based off of the
headline.
Not the headline. I saw the stories that were
quotes
posted from some of the Love is Blind cast
who started the foundation.
And based on what they were saying something different than what you were just explaining.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Okay.
But Nick, here's the deal, right? Yeah, I know. You make your living podcasting. All of this information is out there. So don't get me wrong. There were some reality stars that might have conflated what Nick actually was saying, but he also goes ahead and is very clear with what he's saying, and we've covered it ad nauseum, some might say. I mean, I might need to go to the Ukan Foundation and get therapy after listening and watching his retelling of how everything went down.
So it was brought to my attention that Nick Viall did a podcast that was essentially a slam piece that also poked fun at the fact that I had previously attempted suicide.
Now, I don't believe that Nick was poking fun at her attempted suicide, but this is where it gets kind of dangerous, because you get into this world where if you're not, Nick should acknowledge the fact that serious issues went down on that show, a show that Nick wasn't on. Like, serious things went down. So for him to comment without knowing the full picture, very dangerous.
I remember the first time I ever discussed this in an interview, and I was so hesitant to do so, and I was terrified for it to come out, because this isn't easy stuff to talk about.
So anyway, the therapists that they have, and people in the Bachelor world have confirmed this to me, are not necessarily there to help you out. In some cases, the therapists that the TV show hires are there to keep the relationship going, because they work for the show. They have other priorities.
Not saying it's a very difficult experience. They literally tell you, the show says it's a science experiment. It's an experiment. And if they don't want to be guinea pigs, don't.
So his idea is, if you don't want to read the fine print, and if you don't want to, deal with the repercussions of going on this show, then that's on you. Howie is about to dismantle that opinion.
But to that end, I think people get into reality TV and get incredibly damaged and don't know what they're getting into.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah.
You were in it.
Yeah.
Did you feel that pressure?
So on one end, he's saying, hey, you signed up for it. And then on the other hand, he's saying, now I agree that they don't understand what they're signing up for. I mean, if this isn't the Curb Your Enthusiasm button, I don't know what is here. But I understand it's complicated, but let's make some concessions here. It's almost like Howie would be better off if he had actual quotes that Nick said. And that's just kind of how it comes down, because, I think we're all reasonable in person when we have conversations. If Nick Thompson was in person with Nick Viall, I think they would end up having a reasonable conversation. But when it goes awry, like with Nick's conversation with Reality Steve, audiences get to look at it and go, man, you're giving this guy a raw deal. Like, if I went out here as an independent person who has health care and I don't need to be on one side or the other, we're doing fine, just poking the bear on all angles. But if I went on Nick's podcast and he railroaded me when I'm trying to tell him, like, hey, these people are just trying to do good and all that, I'm very confident the audience would be exposed to this being the wrong side of the story. Like, that's just my opinion, that if we took this to the court of public opinion, we would have, hands down, we would blow Nick out of the water, hands down, on his opinion. Doesn't mean I hate him as a person here. We're prosecuting the opinion, not the person.
What pressure? Like, what kind? What do you mean? I felt a lot of pressure. But I think most of the damage and the pressure comes from the aftermath of the show.
Right.
Listen, I'm not on every production set out there, so I can't speak to the working conditions that are going on.
Then don't.
But I do know they're pretty upfront with what people are signing up for, at least to the extent of you're going to be.
That doesn't mean anything.
Well, to a certain extent,
Well, I'll just give you what I do know.
And so great that Nick's talking to a professional who works in reality TV who has a different opinion on this one here, because, in a lot of cases, I think Nick can say he hides a lot behind the whole, well, I was on the show, so this is what happened. Well, here's a probably higher watched rated show, and they're going to explain to you how it should be done.
I'm on America's Got Talent. Mm-hmm. And on America's Got Talent, we have employed a full-time therapist or a psychologist, and they're always there. They're always in the wings. And that is because people have signed contracts and they're going to go out there. I don't think we can explain ad nauseum what you're about to do. You are going out there in front of millions of people, in front of a panel of judges, in front of a live audience, and you hopefully will achieve your hopes and your dreams.
And by the way, I would argue that the way we judge Bachelor contestants is different than the way we judge sort of talent shows. Because a talent show, worst case is you suck, you can't juggle the rings, you dropped the fire pit, you swallowed the sword wrong, whatever we want to do. Speaking of swallowing the sword, fantasy suites, no. But on The Bachelor, we judge their soul. You're a shitty person. You're a gaslighter. You're a narcissist. They get it way worse.
Things don't always go as planned.
Correct. Yeah.
And many times, how those people or groups of people react to how they are received or how they perceive they're being received in a very vulnerable, scary way, so that, you know, there is somebody as they walk off that stage saying, are you, as somebody professional, are you okay? Do you need to talk about something? Are you okay with everything that just happened? Are you sure? And we take the responsibility of making sure they're at least seem okay when they leave the building.
Yeah.
To that end, my headset just unplugged.
Jeez.
To that end, I can't imagine there isn't a psychologist sitting on the. Is there one sitting there at the Bachelor?
Yes, there is.
Every day.
When I was on, they had one on staff and traveled with the show.
Okay.
And it's been proven that therapist isn't working for you; they're working for the show.
Okay.
I don't think they were made available to the cast as much as I think they should have.
There you go.
I think, and then post-show, the therapist was in theory always available, but again, not to the extent in which I think they should be.
I know they need to be proactive with therapy. You did the show, you get therapy every Tuesday at 2 p.m. You know, like, they can afford this. We're talking about $100 an hour. So for $100 a week or $200, whatever it is, you can't put people. No, maybe not everybody, but target your 5 biggest villains from the season. Find your Shanae, find your whoever, people that Tino Franco. Find the people that actually got the bad edit. Get them in therapy proactively. And because that's not happening, the Ukan Foundation exists.
Since then, my understanding is they have drastically improved that. I think they have kind of like what they call like an aftercare program.
And I wonder if that's due to the grassroots organization Ukan Foundation.
Which should exist because
100%.
even more than on AGT, and they don't let anybody leave the building without at least a professional believing that they are in a safe place mentally. I think that sometimes when you're on a reality show, your context is only where you are and what you see and what you hear, as opposed to when it airs. You know, you don't know what somebody else said in their their interview, or how they took your date, or how they did that, and then you see that, and that could impact you. And there's nobody sitting beside you at home to go, I came off like a fucking idiot.
By the way, so Nick's giving the worst interview ever here as a guest because he's unwilling to contribute. He's just answering as if he's being cross-examined. So it's really making this go nowhere. I mean, luckily we've got channels like mine to actually play the context of what's going down. So Nick then doubled down. I mean, he doubled down on his stance. So we can't rewrite history on where the stance was. He said, despite all the gifts, access, and opportunities that come with it, the poor reality TV stars need your help, vomit face. Please donate to their ridiculous cause so they don't deal with any stress while they enjoy their free Coachella. Is that somebody? I mean, right? Here it is, folks. I mean, this is it. This lives on forever. This is the opinion.
Come up with this bullshit and go on these other podcasts and
other
start this
podcasts
nonprofit
like Game of Roses,
asking fans to donate money. He's not offering
for himself, like, well, for what?
No,
I guess
for the nonprofit,
for future reality, for consultations for future reality TV.
So what we have here for those listening to the audio only is Chad Kulchin from the Cult of Game of Roses podcast here, aghast as he watches Nick misappropriate the dealings of the Ukan Foundation.
Stars or whatever.
The donation page says, don't you think it's time to help the cast? If everyone who watched reality TV donated just 1 month of what they pay streaming services, we could solve this issue forever. Reality
what
TV
issue? I mean, the what's the word I'm looking for? The audacity.
Wait.
There's so many problems going on in this world, and these motherfuckers want you to like solve this world problem?
It's a bigger problem than that, Nick Viall.
So Chad's losing his mind because Nick's doing whataboutism. He's saying, "What about the poor kids in Italy? What about the people with skin cancer?" And it's like you help where you can. You find the issues of society that are broken, and you take your very unique piece of duct tape. We all have duct tape, right? And we try to fix what we can. Maybe you live in a town that's got a pothole and kids keep, busting their lips hitting the pothole with their bikes. And you go, you know what? I'm going to fill that pothole in. Fill the pothole where you can. That's the point. All right, let's finish this up here. Let's see what, so they keep going.
Totally. Or maybe you didn't or were made to look like you came off like an idiot.
Right. And there's nobody, and therefore, when I heard about this foundation or whatever it is it a foundation? Is it a group?
I think it's a charity, Ukan, that focuses on working conditions for reality TV personalities and also therapy for those people.
Which I thought was a great idea.
Yeah.
If you don't think so. You don't think so?
Well, again, I just don't think it was presented in an accurate way. Again, again, the focus.
Oh no. Oh boy, this is why you don't go on other people's podcasts.
Was on the working conditions. I think no one I think no one's going to take care of your mental health more than you're going to. So I think we have to, be accountable for our mental health first and foremost. And again, I think most of the struggle that people have from a reality TV space that, when it comes to their mental health, again, is the aftermath. It's not, not to get into some of the things that they said, but it's not necessarily. This is
where if Nick had a publicist here, they'd go, okay, wrap it up. It's time for lunch. We got to go. He's on the ropes metaphorically here. He is just tattered on
necessarily, the long days that are, the production schedule of some of the shows that, there's just a lot going on, but it's the Reddit posts and the comments on Instagram and the reading the articles about yourself. And these same people who were complaining about that are the same people who are also, promoting internet bullying and trolling other people because they disagree with. And it's just to me, there's a bit of.
I, for one, am not promoting bullying of Nick. I, along with others, and I don't know if he's now pretending to be the victim. I'm not really sure. I, along with others, are just holding him to his words and saying, you really don't have a point. You know what you need to do, Nick? You take some of the money from the Ukan Foundation, go to a therapist. This is just my opinion, and explore why you got so mad at Nick Thompson, another good-looking, tall, white man from a reality show. It's almost like they're both quarterbacks from different high schools that don't like each other. Maybe crack a beer with the guy. Crack a beer with Nick Thompson. Maybe you guys could fill in some potholes together.
The hypocrisy in that.
There is.
And I just think, again, I'm a huge advocate for therapy and taking care of your mental health, but I'm also an advocate of policing yourself post-show and getting the help that you need and reaching out and asking for help when you need. It's not necessarily asking.
Both can be true.
Donations because you don't like how things played out when you were filming something. And again, if you're going to complain about that, I would like to see people take, actions when it comes to how they handle themselves and how they protect their own mental health post-show, which comes down to your time on social media and your willingness or lack thereof to Google yourself.
And in this unique case that we have here with Danielle, she actually, her biggest issue from, what they were discussing here, Danielle right here in the center, is what happened on the show. She had an issue on the show that went down and didn't have the proper resources and advocacy to help her out. So many different issues. Some people have issues with the Reddit trolls after, some people have issues on the show. The point is, we need access to help. And the Ukan Foundation is trying to use some of that money to pool together legal resources to fight the contracts that exploit people. Look, I'm in the middle of it. We needed to raise a lot of money in order to fight a frivolous lawsuit, which we are in, neck deep right now fighting. We're doing great. I'll have more updates on it on the podcast this afternoon. We're doing great. I love what we're exposing and all the other things going on here, but you can't go at it alone. So Nick Thompson, he's just trying to do good. He's filling a pothole. Are you?